Rivalry.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Big Generator series. First off, I want to thank a good friend and subscriber, Frantic Dav, for his generosity in lending invaluable research materials for this documentary. These materials have greatly contributed to my exploration of harmonic convergence and a deeper understanding of its significance in the world of yes. And for those who ask what country are we in, it's the obsessive-compulsive Republic of Proglandia. Okay, so according to many statistics, 1986 is considered as the worst year for creativity on the pop charts. But is it? Rock and roll retained its fair share of treasures, nevertheless. The Final Countdown is a timeless classic. First 2 months of the year had solid album releases such as Peter Frampton's underrated Premonition. Please check it out. We also have Public Image Limited with album or compact disc featuring terrific guitar work by Steve Vai. The Firm's mean masterpiece and Goodbye, Mean Business. Ozzy Osbourne's The Ultimate Sin. And just because this is a Yes documentary series, Nazareth released their 16th studio album, Cinema. March 1986. Electronics and Music Maker magazine featured an article with Tony Kaye. The journalist met with Tony at Trevor Horn's studio in early 1986, right before Yes parted ways with Horn. Tony was quoted saying, "We wanted to do something different from the old Yes. And with myself coming back into the band and Trevor Rabin joining, we wanted to sound like Yes, but to get away from the old Yes material, and this album is an extension of that. The writing has been a very joint venture. Everyone has participated. On the last album we took a lot of Trevor Rabin songs and adapted them. He's a very good songwriter." March saw the release of Metallica's Master of Puppets, which ranked as the 7th best-selling album of 1986, signaling a generational shift towards heavier sounds. It was the only metal record to reach the top 10 in sales that year. Van Halen responded with 5150, scoring big and sending a message to all record label executives. Veteran rock bands could change the formula and go for mainstream choruses. While Yes hoped to someday finish Big Generator, John Anderson was back in April 1986 as guest vocalist for Tangerine Dream's Legend soundtrack. Anderson can be heard on the song Loved by the Sun. John also collaborated on a Mike Oldfield single by the name of Shine. You can see John in the music video filled with 80s style animations similar to Yes on the 9012 Live VHS. Where his bandmates were out of the public eye that year, Anderson was having fun, putting himself on the map with yet another guest spot for the science fiction film Biggles, making its UK premiere on May 26th. The movie made its USA debut until 1988. John contributed lyrics for the theme song Do You Wanna Be a Hero and Chalks Away. In progressive pop and progressive rock terms, Yes felt the heat from the competition. Trevor Rabin was locked up at his home studio in the Hollywood Hills, recording overdubs and trying to find the right mix.
You two were both with incredibly successful bands. Why take the chance and then go off and start it on your own?
Well, I think it proves that we've still got ambitions that the other groups haven't totally fulfilled, and therefore it's an opportunity.
Did you have any concerns about it? That people say, "Come on, what are you going to do? Leave this really big successful band?" And
well, I left my sort of so-called successful band in 1977.
Guitar duo Hackett and Howe's GTR hit the stores on April 24th, but Peter Gabriel shocked the system with So, released on May 19th. With 5 hit singles, it was one of the greatest comebacks that year. Emerson, Lake and Powell tried to bring their own magic with a self-titled album, but Genesis became the biggest winner in prog pop terms, with Phil Collins, once again, hitting the music jackpot with Invisible Touch, Yay. This was the 8th best-selling album that year behind Metallica. I know Invisible Touch, Yay, is not technically prog, Yay, but they were Yes's main rivals in that 80s category. Genesis had also released their last studio album in 1983, the same year as 90125. So the fact they came back first with such a popular hit single, it definitely raised the expectations from Yes's record label. Add in Toto's Fahrenheit selling less copies than 1984's Isolation, and you kinda wish Yes would have released their brand new album back in November 1985, in the style of the Rocky IV soundtrack that for some reason feels like a continuation of 90125. Training Montage, No Easy Way Out, and Hearts on Fire have some 80s Yes in there. I love these songs. So for this documentary series, I decided to listen to a lot of records from 1986. And let me tell you, Big Generator had a huge advantage over the average formula. While the songs are commercial in places, Yes was not really trying to sound like anybody else. Big Generator's main problem was being released a year and a half too late. They were the right songs at the wrong time. Fun fact, Billboard's #1 albums for 1986 had no British rock nor prog bands topping the charts. Atlantic Records added insult to injury, releasing the Dance Tracks compilation, including Susudio and a dance version of Owner of a Lonely Heart. One of the few promotional efforts to keep Yes's name alive, and this is what they came up with: a dance record.
Owner of a lonely heart.
Now, even if Yes released Big Generator in 1986, touring the world was a bad business idea, as Genesis' Invisible Touch Yeah tour ran for an entire year, well into 1987. Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet followed the same path, and Van Halen massively toured 5150 in the United States and Canada. Best thing Yes could do in 1986 was complete the final mixes for the album once and for all.
I think that Trevor brought a lot of the young rock and roll feel into the band, which was good for the moment. 1980s is rock and roll, and Trevor Horn helped to develop the production side of that. And Tony Kaye, he was one of the original founder members of the band, brought in a little bit more of stability within the group in terms of just getting on together, I think. Fascinating to be working with Tony, one of the original Yes members, and obviously Trevor Rabin, a new guy, very, very exciting musician and a very, very talented songwriter. I'm involved in one or two other film projects as well, so there's a lot of things happening for me at this time. It's great.
And the new Yes album, maybe spring, summer next year?
Well, we're definitely hoping for spring. You know, it's one of those things, we're halfway through making the album. Everybody's very excited about it, and we just look forward to finishing it, and actually getting on the road in the summer is something that we're really aiming for, so we got to go with it. That's the main thing.
John Anderson kept his life busy outside of Yes, teaming up with Vangelis for a potential fourth album released past 1983's Private Collection. Several tracks were recorded and later released as a fan-favorite bootleg, the 1986 demos. It's not hard to speculate on Anderson's uncertainty with Yes, a band that seemed to be on hiatus, while his restless spirit looked for new chapters.
Let's pretend that we are free. Abandoned for nothing, just an ordinary morning when the ringing in my ears is just a telephone.
John and Vangelis performed a 14-song show on November 7th, 1986 at Royce Hall, Los Angeles, some 35 minutes from Trevor Rabin's home studio at the time. It was John Anderson's first solo career show since 1982, and the first without Yes since Argentina 1985. I definitely recommend checking out this concert. Vangelis alone is an artistic experience like very few. (1987), the year of the rabbit, and talk about bad timing for Yes, once again. They chose one of the most competitive record buying markets of the 80s to release their long-awaited album. I bet every artist I will mention here made them realize their big mistake, or at least shoot high, aim low, very low. By September 1987, all these records hit the stores. The Joshua Tree, Whitesnake 1987, Tango in the Night, Bad, Hysteria, and Appetite for Destruction. And just when you think it can't get worse for Yes, progressive rock colleagues, now progressive pop rivals, Pink Floyd, came back from the dead with a momentary lapse of reason on September 7th. Not only was the 15th best-selling album of the year, but it spawned a huge, gigantic, colossal promotional tour of 198 concerts over a 2-year period. As much as I love Yes, Big Generator had no chance commercially speaking. I'm sure they had a momentary lapse of I think we screwed up the release date. All they could do was show up for the interviews, shoot promotional videos, and hope they stick together till the end. 1987 had John Anderson add another guest vocal credit for Lawrence Gowan's third studio album, Great Dirty World. John can be heard on lead single Moonlight Desires. Chris Squire provided backing vocals for Esquire's Geffen Records debut. Squire's soon-to-be ex-wife Nikki was the lead singer. They would divorce after the album was completed. Esquire is an interesting record as it features Yes's Alan White on drums. Originally signed to Trevor Horn's ZTT label, Horn couldn't find time to work with them, but he mixed the best track on the album by the name of To the Rescue. The album was produced by Chris Squire and the band. By August 1987, Big Generator had seen 3 countries and 8 recording studios. Trevor Rabin used his main Stratocaster plus a Westone Pantera model, which was advertised at the time. You wonder how much time was put into overdubbing guitars alone. Besides working at his Hollywood Hills studio, there were several mixing sessions in California, including South Combs Studios in Burbank and Westlake Studios in West Hollywood, where Michael Jackson's Bad was done over a 2-year period. And this caught my attention in the sound mix department. Both Big Generator and Bad suffer from a noticeable lack of low-end frequencies in favor of multi-layered textures and a lot of high treble elements. The fact 2 successful artists of the 80s experienced a similar issue makes me speculate on Westlake not being the best environment to work on such electrifying and exciting records that have 1987 written all over. There was a lot of technology at hand for Yes, but it was down to Rabin, the sole Yes member, to actively finish the record on the mixing board. Final mixing sessions for Big Generator took place at Sunset Sound Studio 1, where Paul De Villiers and Trevor Rabin put the finishing touches on the album. Big Generator was mastered by Stephen Marcuson in Los Angeles. Marcuson's long list of works for 1987 included Berlin's Count 3 and Pray, Whitesnake's 1987, and Belinda Carlisle's Heaven on Earth. I believe Big Generator suffered a similar sonic fate to Yes's Tornado and deserves a remix because the songs are great. So I decided to give it a try and boosted some frequencies as an experiment. Check it out. Contrary to standard practice of doing this a month or two before the album release, Yes put out their first single, Love Will Find a Way, on September 14th, some 3 days before Big Generator went out into the public on a Thursday. The album ranked 138th on the sales charts. That's 2 steps below Dawkins' Back for the Attack. A former championship team who conquered the world with 90125 was now an owner of a broken heart. It saddens me to go over this data. It makes me wonder what happened to their momentum. These numbers don't do justice to the album's substance and great musical highlights. Let's talk about big graphics. Designer Gary Mowat reprised his 90125 role with more computer-generated stuff. John Anderson is credited as the main person behind the idea, going for a minimalistic visual in 1987 and made the album look dated, where the music really wasn't. 2 different album covers were made for both vinyl and compact disc cassette formats. Vinyl features a light blue background with a sort of 80s science fiction purple font. No Yes logo this time, but a square-shaped portion. The logo on the bottom is interesting, as it looks like a variation of 90125's early design for cinema. It's like 2 C-shaped elements creating a red symbol that brings balance to the cool color visuals. The back cover has a negative image variation with the word generator. Interesting to note the catalog number for this album was 90522. Possible inspirations for Big Generator's design may come from several 1986 releases, including the Rolling Stones' Colorful Intentions' Dirty Work, to compensate for the crappy vibes within the band. Canadian rock band 5440, Public Image Limited, Glass Eye, Electric Light Orchestra, Peter Davidson, Emerson Lake and Powell, Villain, Janet Jackson, Ecstasy, 80s Reconstructions, Steve Roach, The Three Sounds, Run DMC's Raising Hell. This one a very strong chance based on the thick fonts and solid color backdrop variations front and back. There's also Steady B's Bring the Beat Back with a similar idea. The Talking Heads' True Stories is a strong contender for concept inspiration for Big Generator. You have the big font, big ideas, and 2 colors. The second design went for yellow and fuchsia colors, but this time the band's name top center, and their symbol is dark blue. Why were these chosen? I try to find answers on color theory and the famous color wheel. You can think of this as a circle of fifths for painting. So purple is the opposite of yellow. Light blue? Well, that would be light orange. Big Generator went for 2 cool colors for vinyl and 1 warm and cool color for the CD and cassette versions. Despite the yellow design being the one you find on streaming services and most online articles on the album, Big Generator's best cover is, in my opinion, the light blue and purple, as it works as a sort of 80s version of Close to the Edge, and looks better in their discography summary. Although the music does sound yellow and fuchsia, it's an intrusive design that almost screams at the listener, and it looks horrible on Yes's discography. Then there's a problem of having the word big on the cover, which opened the door for cheap shots and jokes from people who didn't like the album. It's a big what. Yes, I get it, you flip the record and you find the word generator, but that trick gets old very quick. I dare to say that having 2 technically different album covers hurt the record's potential, creating a conflicting narrative of shifting aesthetics, which fueled the mixed reviews by critics and frustrated a patient audience who waited too long for it. Big Generator's advertisements look awfully dated, where 90125 doesn't. Yes may have Love Beach themselves here. I insist the yellow cover looks bad on their discography. The light green and purple design should have been released in 1985, and people would have loved it. Okay, let's take a look at the songs from Big Generator. Side 1, Track 1, Rhythm of Love. The string introduction echoes some of Pink Floyd's Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Fun fact, check out Jason Becker's intro for Altitudes off his 1988 Perpetual Burn album, which I happen to own a copy of. I'm sure he was a fan of Yes. Next we hear a sort of Beach Boys inspired multi-layer vocal segment thanks to Trevor Rabin's proficient studio skills on this matter. This works as a callback to Yes's 1969 track Beyond and Before. With a strong opening hit by Alan White, the band comes in a relatively simple chord progression of D and G7. You can tell this song evolved from jamming. Trevor Rabin was quite honest about the song's meaning, that being humanity's quest for pleasure through physical graffiti or exchange. Rhythm of Love placed the guitars high in the mix, with intricate add-ons by Rabin, guitar solo included. A promotional video was directed by Australian filmmaker Alex Proyas, whose videography included Crowded House's Don't Dream It's Over and the other one's Holiday. Rhythm of Love employs a collage of images and situations that try to suggest the track's sexual undertones. A product of its time, it went for some aha take on me black and white sequences mixed with colorized 80s storytelling, making sense from not making sense. A great driving song for a Miami Vice type of mission or an after office romance that may get you into trouble if your company has a no dating policy. Track 2. Big Generator is credited to all 5 Yes members, but Tony Kaye has stated it was Trevor Rabin's idea. The opening segment is a reference to 90125's Leave It, with all voices going for a rhythmically complex motif. Now let's talk about the guitar riff. Many fan theories state this was pretty much a reworked version of Owner of a Lonely Heart, and while that's kinda true, the riff is different. They're both in the key of A, with Chris Squire's 5-string bass going for an A-E-A-D-G tuning. Where most 5-string basses use the 5th string on B, Squire decided to drop this one full step down to A, which gives the song its signature punch. Big Generator's chords on the riff go A, C, G, and D. Owner of a Lonely Heart goes A, B, C, D with a G chord response. Trevor Rabin's call and response licks on Big Generator's intro work wonders with rapid synthesizer attacks by Tony Kaye, without the use of Trevor Horn's production samples. The track is not all metal, but alternates between soft textures and the occasional build-up bridge with a slick descendant riff similar to Yes on City of Love. Trevor Rabin reprised his signature harmonizer sound for the middle section. Anderson's lyrics speak of a, quote, peculiar breed of shining armor made of gold and steel. The Big Generator moves through the night, and judging by the verses, this generator is a psychedelic machine. Fun fact, Emerson, Lake and Palmer would be inspired by this tune in Owner of a Lonely Heart for 1992's Paper Blood. Track 3. Shoot High, Aim Low. The intro sounds similar to Dire Straits' Money for Nothing. My best guess for the title though is a-ha's debut album, 1985's Hunting High and Low. The record had a big impact on the music industry, so it's safe to think it had an effect on Yes. Shoot High, Aim Low is a timeless piece through the eyes of 2 storytellers in both the present and daydreaming perspectives. With only 3 chords, A minor, E minor, and G, Yes effectively sustains the introspective journey for 7 minutes. As opposed to 90125 immediacies, Big Generator Yes managed to meditate on the power of now. This is a fine musical statement with Tony Kaye's keyboards building up emotions one after another. Worth mentioning are Trevor Rabin's fast acoustic guitar chops a la Al Di Meola, plus the David Gilmour inspired licks around the 4-minute mark. I can see this track being a part of a momentary lapse of reason. One of the high points of Big Generator, this song would have been a great soundtrack. Too bad Top Gun was released the year before. Track 4, Almost Like Love. Yes, it sounds dated, but it's not a bad song. We hear a fast and exciting groove tribute to R&B influences, with a heavy guitar riff that sounds a bit like Guns N' Roses' Paradise City and Joe Satriani's Lords of Karma, both released in 1987. Now, Tony Kaye and Trevor Rabin did not like this song, but it was ironically Kaye who came up with the main fanfare theme on a rehearsal session. I can't help to think of Genesis' Anything She Does every time I listen to Almost Like Love. Now, the song's verse has a strong connection to George Benson's 1978 hit on Broadway. Rabin added a syncopated guitar motif on the chorus that gives it a classic Yes sound. It's the kind of stuff Steve Howe would have played here. Despite his bandmates' wishes, Chris Squire pushed the horn section, comprised of top musicians in their field, known as the Soul Lips Quartet. Jon Anderson's long lyrics are challenging to the point of almost freestyling his way through the song. It's a difficult track to sing. My favorite line is probably, "Saint or sinner, makes no difference in who you believe, in a world of superstition caught in a total nuclear greed." Talk about love in times of 80s Cold War anxiety. While this is not Rhythm of Love, the title is self-explanatory. It's almost like love. Side 2, Track 1, Love Will Find a Way. Every element is carefully placed and pretty much drives Big Generator in the same way owner of A Lonely Heart did on 90125. Credited to Trevor Rabin exclusively, the main idea is built around an exquisite riff of A, G major 7th, A, B5, G major 7th, and A, running a continuous loop. The fact Rabin wrote the string arrangement for the intro confirms he's one of the greatest rock musicians to ever walk this planet. We can speculate recording sessions at Carimate Castle, Italy, influenced his decision to add this mini overture. A set of single-note embellishments reminds us of 70s Yes guitar harmonics, a nice touch indeed. Verses move around a similar progression to the chorus. We have a 7-chord repeat of A, G, D, A, B minor, G major 7th, and D. The chorus line of Aida Chez Nous has been the source of many fan theories. Tony Kaye was quoted saying it's about Alan White's drum tech at the time by the name of Nunu. According to Kaye, this man was in charge of taking care of Yes at their Los Angeles Hollywood Hills headquarters. This included kitchen duties, thus they ate at Chez Nous or Nu's house. A pre-chorus takes place with G, A, and B minor, plus an ascending bass counter melody of C sharp, D, E, G, and A. Next, we have the bridge portion with Alan White and Chris Squire's signature staccato syncopation attack around a 2-chord harmony of B minor and A. Last section has a tasteful Rabin guitar solo, Kaye's keyboard chops, plus a guest harmonica solo by Jimmy Zavala, who was one of the horn players on Almost Like Love. A promotional video was shot featuring the band around a campfire inside a hangar, complete with a private jet. Could anything be more 80s than this? John Anderson can be seen playing guitar, Chris Squire switches from acoustic to electric bass, and Tony Kaye rocks a guitar throughout the song. The harmonica solo is hilarious with Squire's acting and Rabin's guitar interplay. Major props to Alan White's assertive drumming here. Every accent works in favor of the song. He had a very musical approach to rhythm. Lyrics-wise, Love Will Find a Way is pretty straightforward, yet its message remains universal. A battle of expectations, reality, and desires. The chorus line of If You Wanted To reminds me of John Lennon's War Is Over, If You Want It. A fitting song for a decade of love addiction. Yes put the message for the hopeless and recovering romantics out there. Love the powerful chemical, catalyst for humanity, and in modern times of desperation and loneliness, something we all hope finds its way. Track 2, Final Eyes. A surprising sound for Big Generator given the fact that 90125 did not feature an acoustic number per se. The introduction has chord voicings around the key of D, which of course brings back memories of Yes's And You and I.
Looking for love, I was looking for adventure, I was looking for someone to sympathize, finalize.
The pre-chorus goes into an F6 variation before arriving at a chorus celebration in D. The next post-chorus stays on G, then changing the harmony into a memorable descending pop construction where Rabin's guitar licks add tension in the style of Journey. You can tell Final Eyes had two different concepts, two different worlds singing about gratitude. Tony Kaye's closing keyboards are superb. His choice of sounds elevate the song. Track 3, I'm Running. Okay, I will say it up front. I like music experiments, but I just don't like the Latin influence portion here. This is the music bit that held me back from actually getting a CD copy of Big Generator all these years. I've tried with this thing that sounds like a bold acoustic version of Tequila meets Led Zeppelin's Fool in the Rain. I like both songs separately, I just don't like Yes doing this. The intro also reminds me of a couple of references. SNL's theme song for Brian Fellows' Safari Planet, and Yes's survival bass sound off their first album. Now, don't get me wrong, the aggressive musicianship on the Latin style bit is absolute. It just feels weird with the rest of the song, which is truly epic. Tony Kaye's percussive keyboards create a sense of mystery and the perfect soundtrack for an NBA championship VHS documentary. Anderson's lyrics are powerful. They paint a picture into the horizon. These are the words of someone chasing their dreams. The I am running chorus is melancholic, gloomy, and sincere. But just as you're feeling the cinematic vibes, the band comes back into that Latin syncopation thing. Now, after many repeated listens for this documentary, I will say the ending is frenetic and classic Yes. They managed to convince me that after all, progressive rock is about trying new things. Any clue as to how popular this song was on stage? It was only played 4 times in 1987 as a standalone number, before being dropped from the setlist forever. I wonder why. Track 4, Holy Lamb, Song for Harmonic Convergence. What is harmonic convergence, first of all?
Basically, harmonic convergence, according to ancient prophecy, marks the end of one 5,000-year cycle on Earth and the beginning of a new critical cycle.
To get in tune with the universal energy, to meditate and resonate, to welcome in a new age.
Calendar speaks of a major change in the world beginning on August 16th and 17th, 1987.
Harmonic convergence represented a big shift in energy, meaning the Earth would be a better place and awareness would rise supreme. People would throw away their copies of Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell and aspire to have better musical taste and just become better people. In music business terms, August 17th was just another day in the office with the release of Motorhead's Rock and Roll. Now, let's remember that John Anderson had this song, Holy Lamb, planned out since mid-1985. So the fact that harmonic convergence was added to the title makes you wonder, when did John actually decided on the name? According to a Tony Kaye interview, quote, "This was a song that had to be on the album," which suggests Holy Lamb was a non-negotiable track solely credited to John Anderson. And let me tell you, it was worth fighting for. A deeply emotional track that hits you right in the heart. Revisiting this remind me of loved ones I've lost, troubled relationships, wishful thinking, and trying to remember what dreams look like. One of Yes's most touching songs since Tormado's Onward. A simple chord progression that truly wanted the world to unite in hope, forgiveness, and chance. Every neo-prog band was influenced by this number. There's no silent lucidity without Holy Lamb. I like to think this as ELP's Lucky Man of the 80s. This song alone can make you forgive Yes's acoustic bits from I'm Running. A perfect ending for the album. You just wish it was a longer track. Okay guys, we'll stop right here and come back for the third and final episode of the Big Generator saga. I'll break down the challenging 1987-1988 Big Generate tour and how it all crashed down to familiar places in Yes's history. Stay tuned for the last days of 80s Yes, from the stage to exit stage left. You don't want to miss it. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.